Okay, this is another reaction video from Walter's World. Ugly tourists in Texas, how to upset Texans. Now, my father was born in El Paso, Texas, 1941. He may have spent maybe a couple of years there at best. Okay, now the reason when World War II broke out, he was born um, just a couple of weeks before Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and as he tells me, um, his father wanted to join the war effort, and the price that my dad's mom, his my granddad's wife, my granny, gave to him is if you join the war effort, the price you pay is we move to Southern California. So my dad grew up really in North Hollywood, California. Okay, and it probably when he was 3 or 4, moved to Southern California and pretty much stayed there until 1971. So he probably stayed there for a good uh, 30 years before he actually, well, maybe a little less than that, 25, 26, 27 years, something like that. Because born 41, probably lived in El Paso a couple of years, and then moved, yes, probably a little bit less than 30 years. Sorry about that, bad math. But he, that was a price. And then before he moved to Annapolis, Maryland, and my sister was born, and we lived in Bermuda and so forth. But you would think that my father would believe him. It was actually his older brother who passed away in 2020 considered himself a Californian because he's lived there all his life. My dad maybe spent 2 or 3 of his 81 years actually living in Texas, but he considers himself a Texan. Okay, don't tell him he's not, because that's what he is. He's a very proud Texan. He loves Texas. That's his favorite state, despite where he lived. But it is easy to upset a Texan. That's how I can upset my father by saying you're not a Texan, you're a Californian. I'm a Texan, okay? But you can upset Texans. But let's take a look and see what other things you can do to upset Texans.
Hey there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Walter's World, and today we're here in San Antonio, Texas, for some of the things that tourists need to know before they come to Texas so they don't upset the locals. You know, don't mess with Texas. And I think the first thing you need to know as a tourist coming here to
Yeah, that is one thing. People in Texas, I just told a story about my father, but Texans, they take their state very seriously. They love being Texans.
Texas, the one thing you will do, no matter what, that will upset the locals, and it will probably the first thing you do, because you're going to be driving into Texas, is not driving fast. Look, 65 miles an hour speed limit, that's the minimum. They drive fast here. I know some people think, oh, those are big trucks. Those big trucks with those big tires, they can't go fast. Oh, yes, they can, and they will.
Oh, yes, they can, and they will. He's 100% correct on that. I've driven through Texas. I went down to South Padre Island, and I was not driving. I was driving faster than 65, and this was before they raised the speed limit to 65.
And if you want to guarantee to upset a local, just drive slow or stay in the left-hand lane. That is one way to guarantee that people are going to be like, dude, keep up with the traffic, because driving fast is Texas. And I think going along with our don't mess with Texas, I think the second thing that kind of upsets the locals when you come here to Texas is if you pick on Texas pride. When I talk about picking on Texas pride, we're talking about things that truly represent Texas, things that people from Texas swear by. It is one thing that my grandma and my grandpa did, and I do it too. They do have a certain level of pride in certain things. So if you're bad-mouthing Bluebell ice cream, that's not going to go over well. If you're not wowed by Whataburger and their spicy ketchup.
Yeah, you can generally tell a Texan is we don't call it burger wars, but there are certain fast food restaurants in the United States that are synonymous with their state. And even though Whataburger is expanding, okay, if you say, I think In-N-Out Burger is the best burger I've ever had, you can tell a Texan because they'll say, it's Whataburger. Now, I've had both. I love both. I'm not going to pick one or the other, but I do love me a Whataburger. Whataburger is fantastic.
Again, that's not going to be taken well. If you think, oh, H-E-B is just another grocery store, no! Or my God forbid you go to Buc-ee's and you don't buy a t-shirt and 9,000 things you didn't need. I mean, it's the gas station Target of the world. I mean, Buc-ee's is really cool. And they have such pride in Texas.
And these are places that are, I think there's a Buc-ee's in Kentucky. I think Buc-ee's is also expanding as well. But yeah, they take that stuff very seriously in Texas.
And things that are Texan, that if you don't like it or you say something bad about it or you're not as impressed with it, sometimes that just makes them go, you're not from Texas, you wouldn't understand. Because not everybody gets Big Red. I understand that, but just know, messing with Texan stuff probably is going to put you on the wrong side of some of the locals when you're here. And one of the things that's funny is as much as Texas love Texas stuff, another way you upset them is if you tell them, oh, well then that means you're not a southern state. Oh, no. Texans, if you tell them they're not in the South, they're not a southern state, they're like, what are you talking about? We've got southern stuff, we've got barbecue, we've got howdy and y'all, we got all those things, and we've got the heat and the humidity. And
look, down in Texas, in my experience, they are proud of Texas, but they do consider themselves American too. And they consider themselves part of the South as well.
All kinds of stuff. And they'll get upset. But then you'll say, wait, but I thought you said Texas is its own.
I don't believe that's actually, that's the Alamo up there, but I don't know if that's actually the actual Alamo. I'd have to look at that, but I remember seeing something where that's not actually the Alamo, or the Alamo was much bigger than just that.
Thing. So is Texas a part of the South then? They're like, well, no, Texas is its own thing. So no matter if you say Texas is part of the South or you say Texas isn't part of the South, you're going to upset somebody.
Don't say anything about what Texas is. Just say, I'm happy to be in Texas and leave it at that. You don't need to get into a debate whether it's part of the South, because like I said, in my experience, they're part of the United States of America, and they're proud of being part of the United States of America. Some people that I ran into were proud of being. Now it's not like I conducted a survey, and I said, "Well, we're down south here." And they said, "Well, I'm from Ohio, so you're south." Oh, okay. So, but yeah, you don't even get into that debate.
Now, no matter what side of the divide you fall on, Texas is a southern state or Texas is its own thing, is if you kind of make fun of the accents or you're saying things like y'all ain't a word, no, like that's part of the thing. You do hear the howdies, you do hear the y'alls, you do hear some of those things, and those are normal. So don't be making fun of people. That's not cool.
If somebody says howdy to you down in Texas, you say howdy right back. If somebody says y'all, that just means you all, okay? Don't, like you said, don't get into that debate.
That's not mannerly. And that kind of leads us into another one of the things I think people do that upset the locals, and that's just not using your manners. I mean, Texans are famous for being friendly, being very open. I mean, let's be honest. Most of the stuff on this list, when you talk to Texans, they're not going to care. They're pretty chilled out about a lot of things. But one thing that they really appreciate is that people use their manners. And it's more than yes, sir, no, sir, yes, man, no, man. You're getting that door. You're helping people with their stuff. You're letting them know that, oh, that bathroom's dirty. You might want to go to the other one. I mean, that's the Texas way. And sometimes it's a stereotype.
And it really should be the American way as well, because a lot of things like holding the door open for a lady, ladies first, things like that, being polite, smiling. I get there's a different European vibe to this that they do over there, but in the United States, manners cost nothing. It's just that's the way you should do it. You should treat everybody the way you would like to be treated.
That Texans are overly friendly, but you have to realize it's not that they're overly friendly, it's just that they're polite and they use their manners, and that comes across, I should say, as being super friendly when you're not used to those manners all the time, okay? So don't forget your manners when you're here, because if you do, don't be surprised if somebody calls you out on it when you are here. Now, another thing that kind of might be a sensitive topic to talk about with people when you're here that might get people riled up a bit is you tell people you're moving to Texas. Because people from Texas know why you're coming here. They love Texas, hence all the Texas pride.
Now, my girlfriend, she was married, and her husband almost took a job down in Dallas. She went down there and they were looking at it, but they didn't like it too much down there in Dallas. And there's something against Dallas, okay? They got divorced, and she likes it up in Ohio. It just wasn't her place. But yeah, look, if you're moving to Texas, look, there's a way the Texans feel about certain things. Don't bring your like if you're there's a lot of people from California moving to Texas, and the problem the Texans are having with them is they're bringing their politics from California to Texas, and that's not going over too well.
But if you're saying you're moving to Texas, or especially if you're saying you're moving to Texas from California, oh wow, that
Wow, I say here it comes out there.
is going to get people riled up, okay? I'm just going to tell you that one right now, okay? And kind of going along with that, because a lot of people move to Austin, it's one of those big booming areas here in Texas, is I think it is, if you say, oh, I've been to Texas, or I know Texas, and all you've ever done is go to Austin, look, Austin's a cool city. I've had a great time when I've gone there. But if you say that, you have to realize is that Austin has a special relationship with the rest of Texas, because there's a lot of people here in Texas that don't feel that Austin's really part of Texas.
Yeah, a lot of that has to do. I believe it has to do with political. It's a college town. Texas is a red state, but I don't believe Austin is a red town. I believe Austin's a blue town. So yeah, I believe it has to do with politics. I could be wrong on that.
Even though it's the capital. So just know that might be some touchy topics if you talk about that. Now, another cultural faux pas you might have when you come here to Texas that might upset the locals is if you basically say, well, football isn't for Fridays. Football is Saturday for college and Sundays for the Cowboys.
Well, if you're international, then you're not saying it's football at all. Okay, it's throw ball but yeah, they take the sport of American football very, very seriously. Okay, they say there are in the world of sports, not just the United States. Maybe most of the viewers here will be the United States, but when it comes to football or fan bases, I think there are three delusional fan bases. The three most delusional fan bases that I know of are Real Madrid, and rightfully so to some extent, Real Madrid, and rightfully so for all these. Okay, Manchester United and the Dallas Cowboys. Those are the three most delusional fan bases, in my opinion. Okay, they always think they are better than what they actually are. Now, Real Madrid can make somewhat of a claim to that because they've been actually doing pretty well. Not so much Manchester United. Certainly not the Dallas Cowboys. But those are the three most delusional fan bases that I think of in the world of sports.
Yes, but don't forget about Friday football. High school football is a big thing here. And since people have a lot of pride in Texas, they have a lot of pride in their town, and they have a lot of pride in their high school they went to or their kids went to, people keep going to the high school games well after high school. Like, if your kids might have graduated 20 years before, you're still going to Friday night football with your local kids' high school teams. Because you know what? Little Johnny down the street, he plays on the team, and Juan over there across the street, he's also on the team. I want to go support them, though you're like 80 years old. I mean, this is one of those things. Football is big here, okay? And yes, they're college teams.
And that right there is called Jerry's World. It's built by the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry. I'm bad with names. I should know. I want to say Jerry Glanville, but it's not Jerry Glanville. Jerry Glanville goes to the Houston Oilers and the Atlanta Falcons. But no, it's not Jerry Glanville. Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones. Yeah, you'd think I'd remember something as easy as Jerry Jones, but Jerry Jones built that stadium, AT&T Stadium. It's called Jerry's World, and a lot of the big. In fact, I believe they're thinking of the World Cup final of 2026 is going to be played there. I think that's where they're going to play the final.
Haven't been super great the last few years, but things are turning around for them. But just know, if you like playing stuff for a Friday night and don't factor in Friday football or Saturday football or Sunday football, just be aware of that. So yeah, but don't worry, if you're talking about professional football, it's the Cowboys. Nobody cares about the Texans, honestly. Even Houston, I wonder sometimes. I mean, just go with the Cowboys on that one.
No, don't go with the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys.
Let's focus on some food faux pas that you might make when you come to Texas that will upset the locals. And one is you tell them that true barbecue is pulled pork. Oh, hell no. Not here in cattle country. Here in Texas, it's all about brisket, okay? Yes, you can get pulled pork and you can get pulled chicken. You can get all those other things. But honestly, in Texas, it's all about the brisket. And you want to have that. That's what you want to get when you're here. And so if you invite friends over and we're having a barbecue, or we're having barbecue and you've got hot dogs or pulled pork, the locals will be like, dude, I thought we were friends, okay? So remember.
It's not that bad, but it couldn't be that bad. Like I said, it's yeah, you're not in pulled pork country by any stretch of the imagination.
That. Another food thing, and this is one thing you will insult a Texan, whether they're young, old, rich, poor, wherever they are in the state, is if you kind of pshaw when they suggest having breakfast tacos. Look, it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody loves breakfast tacos, and it doesn't matter if you're going to Torchy's in Austin, or you're going to the gas station down the street to grab some, or your local taqueria to grab some in the morning. Breakfast tacos are the bomb. And if you're kind of poo-pooing them off because you're thinking, oh, McDonald's breakfast burritos, how could they be so
yeah
special? Oh my God.
Yeah, you don't go to McDonald's for breakfast burritos in Texas. No, you don't do that.
Here, it's not breakfast burritos. They're just breakfast tacos are amazing, okay? So definitely have them. It's a good way to ingratiate yourself with the locals. Also, they do like to take you to go get them, so they show, look, it really is at a gas station. It goes a long way to make better Texas friends when you're here. So don't be dissing no breakfast tacos. Those breakfast tacos are amazing. And here's a little thing. All these things that might annoy people, you might not get any rise out of them, you might get something, but there's one certain thing you can say that will set off everybody in Texas. It doesn't matter who it is. This is the scariest thing any Texan can hear. Let's say it's the middle of July, you're visiting your friends in Texas, just walk out of their house in the middle of July and be like, hey Bob, I think your air conditioner's broke. You will see people freak out because, oh my God, it's so hot here in the summer. And when the AC goes out, people melt, okay? You will see people that will get hotels because the AC in their house doesn't work in the summer, okay?
Yeah, and that's not too, I've heard stories of players who were playing on soccer teams. The field, it wasn't grass. It was like the field turf was literally melting beneath their feet. And it was like their cleats were sticking to the turf. It would get so hot in July. You don't, here, the simple thing is you don't travel to Texas in July. Okay. You don't want to do that. You try to avoid, there's certain parts of states in the United States, in fact, the entire country, you want to avoid in July and August for the most part, because it can be muggy and very, very sweltering. But yeah, I can certainly see that.
Okay, so that's really the scariest thing. You can tell somebody from Texas that they will freak out about, all right? So I hope you liked our few little things that tourists might say or do that might upset the locals here in Texas. And yes, I personally didn't talk about two specific topics for specific reasons, but I think you can imagine those because I don't want the comments turned into that craziness. But what are some things that you know that can set off people from Texas so people that come here know how to be better integrated with their friendly neighborhood Texan?
And I always recommend before you travel anywhere, whether it's in the United States or around the world, is you do research and find out how not to tick off the locals. Okay? That goes a long way. Believe me, it goes an awful long way to knowing not how to tick off the locals. But this was Walter's World. Please click like, share, and subscribe for him. Please click like, share, and subscribe for me as well. Have a good rest of your day, and thanks for watching.